All right, I think we can just start. There's still people dropping in, but we'll start with just a little bit. Everyone here, we can say who we are. A bit of Zoom etiquette, general stuff. So Alex, do you want to just say hi?
Hi everyone, I'm Alex. I'm here in Bristol, so lovely to connect with so many of you around the world today. So pleased that you're here with us.
Thank you, Alex. Emma?
Hi, I'm Emma. I'm a Bristolian and also I'm in Devon at the moment. So I'm so excited to be here today with you all, International Women's Day.
And Sarah?
Hi everybody, I'm Sarah in Bristol also, so it's wonderful to be here with so many of you this evening.
And Helen?
Hi, I'm also from Bristol and it's gorgeous to be here with you all this evening.
And another Bristolian. Hannah?
Good evening, everyone. So great to see so many of you here. I'm Hannah and I'm in Bristol as well. It's just lovely to see so many places around the world popping up. What a celebration of International Women. Hope you enjoy your evening.
And I'm Jenny, Bristolian right now, but I'm Swedish, so a bit of a mix. And there was just a question about recording this from one person, and no, you can't record it, but we will be recording it. So after this session, you will receive the individual little recordings that we have, and we're also recording the full session. I'm going to give you a bit more information on that, so you don't have to think about anything. All right, so there are a few more people dropping in, but I think we will get started. We're going to have a bit of a presentation now to start with, where we're going to go through all our different bits, and then afterwards we'll do a Q&A. So we won't take any questions during the presentation, but after, if you put your questions into the Q&A, you have a little button on the bottom that you can click. And then we will go through those questions at the end. There is also the normal chat function for you if you want to just chat. Like I said before, we are recording this, and the presentation has lots of little videos because we realize there's a lot of information that we're going to be talking about. And for this to be useful, you're going to need to access it afterwards. So we're also going to send you a handout afterwards where the videos will be included, some extra resources. There will be some text for those of you who find that easier to access, and also our contact information. So if you have further questions or anything that you'd like to ask us, then you can get in touch that way as well. So is there anything else, my lovely panelists? Are you ready to go? All right. So we've been talking about, as I assume most of you, we talk about COVID and what this time has done to us all and what it is doing. And one thing that we feel has been really lacking in the discussion and in the information is what we can do for ourselves to to boost our health, to boost our resilience. It's been and is a very trying time in many different ways, and we all have our different experiences with it. And when we were talking about this and trying to decide on the focus, mental or psychosocial health really stood out. So that's kind of the focus of this evening. And we're doing this in collaboration with Noora Wellbeing, and this is a fairly new nonprofit association that is very much concerned with sharing ideas, inspiring each other. How can we encourage each other and support each other in terms of health and well-being? So this webinar is very much in line with that. If you are interested, there's a website, and we'll be sending that to you afterwards as well. So like I said, we thought psychosocial, the psychosocial impact or mental health impact of COVID is very widespread. It's had a broad impact in many different ways. And we could spend hours and hours talking about this, but we decided that the theme of feeling overwhelmed was something that it resonated with us, but it was also something that we've seen in family, friends, clients. And so we're going to be focusing on feeling overwhelmed this evening. And to do that, this is the general model that's kind of underpinning the evening. And I'm going to explain this in more detail, but what we're doing is primarily, we're going to be looking at movement, nutrition, breathing, and not so much skin, but touch as ways that we can support our own well-being. So I'm going to start off and share a model about this. And I have a background, a fairly broad background, working with physio, teaching, project development research, and my focus is very much women's pelvic health, but I'm also interested in health in a broader, more systems and sustainable approach. And that's what's inspired this model. The longer I've worked with pain and dysfunction, the more I've realized how complex it is. And that goes for health in general. And in particular, when I started working with people with pelvic pain, I needed a way to put all these pieces together and illustrate the complexity, because it felt quite overwhelming. So I've developed a model based on a bicycle wheel. And I'm going to go through the different components and explain what they represent and how it relates to our health. And a wheel is made to move, or to roll. That is the purpose of a wheel. And that's essentially the same for us. We are made to move. We need movement to be healthy. That is essential. It's essential for us to survive. And so the wheel in itself represents movement. We've got the hub in the middle, which represents us as individuals. And that includes our experiences, our beliefs, our emotions, our behavior, our genes, our personality, the thing that makes us us. Then we've got the the nipples, which are these little colored bits around the edge of the rim. And these nipples represent our different body systems. And for example, we've got the muscular system, the connective tissue system, immune system, hormone system, got the organs, microbiome. And the thing with nipples is that when you're balancing or truing a wheel, you need to tighten them in relation to each other. You can't just tighten them fully, because then you're going to get a wheel that's wonky. And it's essentially the same for us and our bodies, that if something is not working in one of these, in one body system, because it's so interconnected to everything else, it will affect other systems. And the longer things go, the more these effects will be. Hence, we need to be able to consider the larger, all the systems as a whole. Next, we've got the rim of the wheel. And the rim creates a frame for the wheel, essentially. The rim represents our skin, which is a huge, complex organ. We've also got the inner tube of the wheel. And the inner tube represents breathing, rest, sleep. And anyone who's ridden on a bicycle with a flat tire knows that you feel every little bump in the road, and it can be really jarring. And in the same way, if we don't get enough sleep, or rest, if our breathing is restricted or very superficial, then our bodies we don't have the same resilience, and things will affect us more. We will feel things more. The tire represents nutrition, and a tire that is worn or thin is much more likely to get a puncture, or you wear more on the wheel. And in the same way for our bodies, we need a good balanced nutrition to provide our body with both the so-called building blocks to create new tissue to heal, but also for energy. And it's actually quite complex and really important. So if we don't have that, then we don't give our bodies the chance to build up the way that we need to. And we never cycle in a vacuum. We are in a context, in an environment, and that environment has a huge effect on us. So for example, if you have a really nice new road bike, but you're out riding at night, it's rainy, it's muddy, the cars drive past and splash you, it doesn't matter how nice your bike is, it's still going to be pretty miserable. On the other hand, you could have an old, rusty, heavy bike, but you're out with your friends, the sun is shining, the weather's good, the cars give you lots of space, and you're having a really good time. So sometimes it's not really about what's going on bodily, it's about the environment around us. And that includes the physical environment, it includes the people around us, what we do, work, studies, and also the culture that we are in. And finally, we've got the spokes of the wheel, and they represent energy or balance. And it is that balance between all of this that enables things to function optimally. So that's just a brief little illustration of the different things that affect our health, but also how much we can actually do then to impact our health, considering that. So just with that model as a base, when we feel overwhelmed, it may be that we're affected on more levels than we're able to manage comfortably. And when the context we're in changes dramatically, such as the context we're in now with the pandemic, then we might lose ways of managing that we had before. And so what we're going to do is offer you some suggestions for things that you might have more control over. And they are specifically, we're going to look at touch with, Hannah's going to lead us in a little self-treatment with EFT. We've got 2 sessions with nutrition, because nutrition is such a huge field. So Alex and Emma are going to share some thoughts there. Helen is going to lead us with a breathing or relaxation exercise, specifically connected to the pelvis. And we want to give you something on movement as well. And it's not so easy to do in this kind of format. So I'll say a few words about just general movement and walking. And then afterwards, we're going to send you a little link with a yoga session that Alex has put together. So you can yoga afterwards. And Sarah is then going to tie this all together with suggestions to help you to cultivate hope, resilience, and optimism, and to support you in building new habits and behavior. So first up, we have Hannah. And Hannah's going to tell you a little bit about EFT, if you don't know what that is. But Hannah's a registered EFT, emotional freedom technique, and shiatsu practitioner. She's been practicing EFT for a long time, almost 20 years, alongside her shiatsu practice. And she has started an online women's tapping circle to support women specifically with perimenopause and menopause symptoms. So this is coming. And Hannah, do you want to say just a few words about what this is?
Hi, everyone. So tapping, EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, or tapping. It's a little bit weird, but don't worry, it actually works. So the way that it works is it stimulates acupressure points on the upper face, the upper body and the head, and it sends calming signals to the amygdala part of the brain, which is what's activated when we're stressed and overwhelmed. So in this video, I'm just going to invite you to join me in tapping along. It might seem odd, but just give it a go anyway, and see if you can notice any difference. Thanks, Jenny.
All right, here you go.
Hello, my name's Hannah. I'm a shiatsu and EFT practitioner here in Bristol, currently working online. I'm going to take you through a quick demonstration on how to use EFT to help reduce overwhelm. So, EFT is short for Emotional Freedom Technique, and you can use it on anything. What I invite you to do today is to focus on, where are you feeling overwhelmed? What's that feeling? Where do you feel it in your body? And how strong is it on a scale of 1 to 10? Okay, so for me, I've got a slightly throbby head and a bit of tension across in my chest. I'm going to take you through the demonstration and tap along with me, and just use your own words instead of mine for where it is and what you're feeling. But follow the routine that I'm offering you here. So the first thing we do is the karate chop point on the side of the hand here, and we just name what we're feeling. So repeat after me, and you can tap on either hand, it doesn't matter. Even though I have all this overwhelm, I completely love and accept myself anyway. Even though I have all this overwhelm in my head and in my chest, and I'm feeling really anxious, it's okay, and I'm all right. Even though I have this throbbing head and this tension in my chest and I feel so overwhelmed, I love and accept myself anyway. Okay, We're then going to tap around the points. The first one's the top of the head, and we just name what we're feeling. All this overwhelm. The second one, we tap at the beginning of the eyebrow. You can use both hands or one hand. I'm a one-handed tapper. All this overwhelm in my head. Next one's the side of the eye, just on the side of the socket there. All of this overwhelm. Next one is under the eye, again just on the socket. All of this overwhelm in my head and my chest. So naming where it is for you. The next one is under the nose. All of this overwhelm in my head. The next one is just on the divot on the chin, below the lip. Well, not on the chin, but in the divot there. The chin point. All of this overwhelm. I just can't think straight. The next point is just beneath the collarbone, in the fleshy bit either side of your sternum and above the ribs. So just tapping there, the collarbone point, this is called. All of this overwhelm. And the last point is under the arm, on the side, for women, just where your bra strap is, kind of on the seam. I call this the monkey point, because you look like a monkey when you do it, and you can get both sides or one side. All of this overwhelm, this throbbing in my head and this tension in my chest. Okay, so you just name what you're feeling, where you're feeling it, and tap on those points. We're going to do another round now. We're going to keep going. What if I could let this go? That would be nice. I've just got so much to think about, I can't work out where to start. All of this overwhelm in my head, these racing thoughts, and all of this tension in my chest. I'd love to let it go, but I just don't know how. Collarbone points. All of this overwhelm in my head and chest. Under the arm. I feel it so strongly and I wish I could let it go, but I just don't know if I can. Okay, top of the head. Maybe I can release this overwhelm. Eyebrow point. I choose to let this go. Side of the eye. Releasing all this overwhelm. Under the eye. Allowing my thoughts to soften and release. Under the nose. Feeling surprisingly calm and peaceful. Under the chin. Releasing all these racing thoughts from my mind. Collarbone point. Releasing this overwhelm from my throbbing head and this tension in my chest. Side points. Releasing all this overwhelm from my body. Top of the head. It's safe to let it go. Releasing any remaining overwhelm. All this throbbing in my head, all this tension in my chest, letting it all go. Feeling surprisingly calm and peaceful. Releasing all this overwhelm from all of my being. And allowing myself to feel peaceful, calm and focused. Take a breath. That's great. And just notice what's changed. And then you can keep going. So you want to do the karate chop point, name what's happening, even though I've got this feeling and I feel it where you feel it. I love and accept myself anyway. Do that 3 times. And then just tap around the points, what you're feeling, where you're feeling it in the body. Name it, let it, and then maybe I can let it go, and then letting it go. Releasing it all. Full permission to relax. Feel restored and energized. So then you're giving that message to your subconscious. And let the tapping do the work. Let me know how you get on. Bye-bye.
Lovely, thank you, Hannah. Whoops. All right, next up, we're going to talk a bit of nutrition. So we have Alexandra Kumis, who's a registered nutritionist and yoga teacher. And Alexandra specializes in digestive and hormonal health. And she also has a special interest in supporting those who have surgical mesh complications following surgeries to support pelvic floor, including both bowel, vagina, and hernia. So here is Alex.
Hi, my name is Alexandra Kumis, and I am a registered nutritionist specialising in digestive and hormonal health. I am really delighted to be here with you today on International Women's Day to share with you some easy ways we can support our emotional and mental well-being by looking after our gut and microbiome. Our neurotransmitters are really important. They are our chemical messengers which communicate throughout our body, and they signal different responses which work to influence our mood, regulate emotion, concentration, energy, alertness, and sleep. And serotonin is known as our happy neurotransmitter. So to ensure we are producing enough serotonin, we need to support our gut health. And first of all, the one key way we can do that is by making sure that we are eating plenty of fiber from our plant-based foods, such as different whole grains, beans, lentils and legumes, nuts, seeds, and a whole variety of different fruits and vegetables. And these foods all act as a prebiotic, and these feed the friendly bacteria within the gut. In our diets, we need 30 grams of fiber every single day, but within our Western diets, we often struggle to eat even half of that amount. So I'm just going to show you some really amazing fiber-rich foods and how to easily incorporate them every day. So let's start off with our beans and our lentils. So these are really easy to incorporate into lots of different savory dishes, such as stews or curries, and even as part of salads. So the butter beans here contain 5.1 grams of fiber for half a cup, and our chickpeas have 2 grams per quarter of a tin. And these two products are also really amazing as hummus, being made into hummus and other dips that you can have alongside some really nice vegetables, and that can be a really simple snack to up your fiber. The green lentils actually have 9.2 grams of fiber per half a tin. So these again can be added really easily into lots of meals, and they provide that fantastic fiber boost. One thing that within our Western diets is typically over-processed and very nutrient poor that we use quite a lot of is bread. And here I can suggest that we can try some rye as a really nice swap. So a slice of rye bread actually contains around 3.6 grams of fiber. So this is fantastic as an alternative to your toast, or even as an open sandwich, or to be dipped into a soup for lunch or dinner. So that's a really nice and easy alternative or swap to add in. Within our fruit and vegetables, many of the fruit and vegetables have between 1 to 2 grams of fiber per portion, but there are some real stars that have a lot more fiber. One of them is broccoli, and for a 70 gram portion, there is around 2.8 grams of fiber in there. I really love to dip broccoli florets into a soup as well, so that's really nice. And we have things like avocado, which half an avocado also contains around 2 grams of fiber. Things like bananas, one banana has around 1.6 grams of fiber, and a regular size apple has around 2 grams. A pear has around double that amount at around 4 grams of fiber per one medium sized pear. So you can see really easily how our fruit and vegetable content really adds to the fiber and the beneficial prebiotic foods. And one really fantastic way is to make sure you're having 3 different vegetables with every lunch and dinner meal you may make, having fruits with your breakfast. So those are really nice ways of adding that in. Chia seeds are really fantastic. They have around 11 grams of fiber for a 28 gram portion. So one really fantastic way to get in your fiber, especially at breakfast, is to create a overnight chia pot full of delicious ingredients like extra nuts and seeds, which also provide really good amounts of fiber, having some berries. You could also add in some extra oats as well and have that as a really simple breakfast. So those are some really easy ways we can add in the prebiotic foods and our fiber and support our microbiome and the bacteria within there. I really hope that you have enjoyed today's video. My name is Alexandra Kumis, and if you would like to find out more about how to support your digestive and hormonal health, you can check out my website at alexandrakumis.com. Thank you and happy International Women's Day.
Thank you, Alexandra. I just want to say I love the rye bread. I think that's such a great solution for those of us who love our toast and our sandwiches. So we can skip the wheat and go for rye. Next, we have Helen Hodder, women's health physiotherapist. And Helen's going to guide us through some breathing and relaxation. And Helen has very extensive experience treating symptoms of pelvic floor dysfunction, including bladder, bowel incontinence, pelvic organ prolapse, and pelvic pain. And she's got a particular interest in dysfunctions that are part of life transitions for women with, for example, motherhood and menopause. So here is Helen.
Hi, I'm Helen. In my work as a women's health physiotherapist, what I've particularly noticed in the last 10 to 12 months is the increased amount of tension that women are holding in their pelvic floor muscles. So one of the most helpful ways of relaxing the pelvic floor muscles and landing back in the body and helping to regulate your nervous system is breathing. With COVID, it feels like a collective trauma, and the trauma response in the body is to create guarding and tension so that everybody's kind of operating at a low grade of a fight or flight response. And it's really helpful to use breathing as a way of coming out of that response and moving more, however briefly, into the parasympathetic state, which is around the rest and digest. So I'm going to teach you a breathing now, which is called the 360-degree breathing. And it requires you to just breathe into the whole front of your torso and the back of your torso. So if you imagine between your jaw and your vulva and pelvic floor that you've got a balloon around the front and the back of your body. So that entire 360-degree area. And you initiate the relaxation as you breathe in, and you maintain it as you breathe out. So you relax from the top down. So you start by relaxing around your brow, softening your eyes, even if your gaze is closed. Softening around your jaw, because there's a big connection between jaw tension and pelvic floor tension. If it's helpful, you can place your tongue lightly behind your front teeth or your bottom teeth to help with that relaxation of your jaw. Drop your shoulders. And as you breathe in, you are taking up the space lightly in that balloon. So you breathe in so that your ribs expand to the side and the breath moves towards your bra strap at the back. You then breathe so that your diaphragm expands and softens, again guiding your breath towards the middle of your back. And then dropping your breath lower down to your lower belly, and you allow that soft expansion to happen, and then the breath to move into your lower back. And then guiding your breath even lower again, all the way down to your pelvic floor. So what you should feel around your pelvic floor and vulva is the sensation of like a flower expanding. So it's kind of like that. So again, you initiate the relaxation as you breathe in, and then you maintain it as you breathe out. So it kind of looks and feels like this. So you breathe in, and everything within that balloon softens and expands, and then you maintain that relaxation gently as you breathe out. There should be no effort or pushing the air into any part of your body. It's just a gentle expansion, and you can place your hands anywhere, like around your ribs or on your lower belly, to kind of get the sensation of that expansion. So it's really helpful to try and regularly take 10 breaths in that way, to connect with your pelvic floor, to allow those muscles to move fully through range, because women are very familiar often with how to tighten and contract their pelvic floor and draw up, but it is equally as important, if not more so, to allow those muscles to actually drop and expand fully through their range, to maintain the suppleness and to allow them to work properly. And also relaxing in that way allows a bigger connection in your body and to briefly give your nervous system a rest. Now, visualizations are another way in which you can augment that relaxation and land more in your body. So if that resonates with you, I'm going to teach you just a very quick visualization now, which might help again with just that landing in the root of your body and coming out of your head and out of a stress state. So you start by connecting with your breathing, allowing your breath to travel gently, softly, all the way down to your pelvic floor and your vulva, and then to the perineum, which is the area between your vagina and your back passage. And there's a very potent point right in the center of your perineum. In yoga, it's often referred to as your root chakra point. In Chinese medicine, it's your earth chi point. So breathe all the way down to this part of your body. Give yourself permission to take up your place, your space here in the root of your body, where you are simply nature. And allow your body to set up a connection from that point on your perineum all the way down to the earth. Now it can look or feel like a rope or a cord, a tree, or for some women it's a light. And just guide that connection down towards the core of the earth. Let the tendrils burrow a little bit deeper, so you can access all of the replenishment and the nourishment that is held here. Allow your body to rest and relax in this place. Keep breathing. Feel how well held you are by the anchor of the earth in this moment. Nothing to do, nothing to say, just breathe. You are rooted, you are grounded, and it's really safe to fully relax and let go. So you can use this visualization if it resonates with you, with your breathing, and you can't overdo this, so try and regularly do it during the day, particularly if you are feeling stressed and feeling like everything is moving up and out of your body rather than you actually being grounded and rooted in your body. Enjoy. I hope you find it helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. That was lovely. And for those of you who want to find it easier to just listen, Helen does have this as an audio, and that will be in your information as well that we'll send you afterwards. So we're now going to get a little bit more nutrition from Emma, and Emma combines both years of nutritional practice with 20 years of managing support services for vulnerable people. And she specializes in female health, supporting young women with endometriosis, IBS, and anxiety. And nutrition can become quite complicated. It's easy to complicate nutrition, but sometimes the best thing we can do is go back to the basics. So Emma's going to present you some of the basics, but that are still really essential for our nutrition.
Hi, my name's Emma Dawson. I'm a nutritionist. I specialise in female hormonal health. I'm absolutely delighted to be here today on International Women's Day to share some top tips on how you can use food and nutrition to support your mood, reduce anxiety, and love being female. So my first top tip of the day is ensuring that you include protein-rich foods in every meal and snack of the day. One reason for this in terms of mood is that we actually need to eat protein to make our happy hormone serotonin. Meals that can be trickier to have protein in include snacks and breakfast. So some ideas for how you can tweak that. And if you eat eggs, have 1 or 2 boiled eggs with some toast and a handful of vegetables for your breakfast. You can boil the eggs the night before if that's easier. If you don't eat eggs or you want some variety, some kind of 1 or 2 spoons of nuts and seeds, dairy yogurt if you're okay with dairy, or soy yogurt. And that's some examples. So my second top tip of the day is having 1 handful of leafy green vegetables from the brassica family. So an amazing reason to include this for your mood is that they contain a chemical called indole-3-carbinol, which is linked to reducing depression. Indole-3-carbinol also helps us women process estrogen more safely, so contributing to hormonal balance. Brassicas include all these amazingly UK grown green veg, so broccoli, and 1 portion would be about 3 florets of broccoli. I'm showing you this in a very glamorous way. 2 different cabbages, different colours, cauliflower, spring greens, parsley and spinach. I haven't got kale there, and I don't know why, because kale is my favourite. So my top tip number 3 for supporting mood with food and nutrition is reducing or hopefully eliminating any foods that are going to spike your blood sugar levels. The reason for this in terms of mood for women is that when we've got a high load of sugar in our bloodstream and our liver is having to process it, it actually stimulates estrogen or increases the effect that estrogen can have. Estrogen is of course one of our super important female hormones, but we don't want it to be overbalanced or artificially stimulated. So in terms of what you can do, think about your drinks. Drinks can often be loaded with high load of sugar, and we might have them on an empty stomach, which will have more of an effect. So all of the obvious drinks like kind of Coca-Cola and all of the artificially sweetened drinks, and also think about fruit smoothies, because these can be really high in sugar. Things like cappuccinos and frappuccinos and kind of lattes also. So some key swaps for that. If you love smoothies, go for a smoothie that's 50% vegetable. Have a small glass of it and dilute it. You can do the same with juices as well. Trade in your frappuccino for an Americano, or better still, from an Americano to a green tea, which supports hormonal balance. If you love drinking alcohol, alcohol is unfortunately not good for hormonal balance or mood whatsoever. But what you could do, I would recommend planning in 1 glass that you really enjoy of wine, for example, with a meal, and that will support your blood sugar levels and also help you to process the alcohol more effectively. So my final super quick top tip is planning. So we've gone through including protein in each meal and snack, including leafy greens, at least one portion a day, and finding foods that you love the taste of, but that aren't going to spike your blood sugar levels. And the best way of doing that is sitting down and planning your meals, thinking about the protein, thinking about the leafy greens and other vegetables, and thinking about what foods you love the taste of, that are going to nurture you and look after you, but aren't going to spike your blood sugar levels, leading to anxiety and potentially kind of low mood and depression. So they are my top tips for today. I've kept it very brief because we've only got 5 minutes. I've got a larger handout with some recipe examples and some further information about fats and fibre too. So please contact me, www.nutritionalbalance.co.uk. My name is Emma Dawson. Happy International Women's Day.
Thank you, Emma. I think those are great reminders. Even if we've heard a lot about nutrition, it's so easy to get into our bad habits, and just quite simple things that we can do. So we've gone through the most of what we're going to do, and now Sarah is just going to tie it all together for us. And oh no, she's not yet. First, I'm just going to mention a bit about movement. Sorry. Movement is absolutely crucial, and it is one of the things that I think has suffered for many of us as work has gone online, and we're just not able to move around the way that we perhaps have been used to. And movement is crucial for mental health. It might not be the first thing that you think of, but there's more and more research coming out showing what a big impact it has on our mental health. And Anders Hansen, who's written one of the books, The Real Happy Pill, he said that the main purpose of your brain is to get you to move. And I think that puts it in a bit of perspective. And walking is fantastic. We can forget how good walking is, but to try to get into the habit of going for a walk every day, if you can. And then to just take breaks and not stand up if you can by a computer, and just take a break. Your body needs it, your brain needs it, your eye needs it, your eyes need it. So that's one little simple thing. And then the other thing that we are going to give to you is a very simple little yoga sequence. It's just over 15 minutes. And the focus is, it's a very gentle, calming yoga sequence. And it should be, most people should be able to do that. So hope you will enjoy doing that later. Now we're going to go to Sarah. And Sarah's a functional health coach, and she supports women living with chronic conditions to create solid foundations for health and helps them improve overall well-being. And she has some great little things to tell us this evening.
Hi everybody, it's been really great to have you with us this evening. So I'm going to conclude the sessions with some thoughts about how we can adapt to the changes we're experiencing in the world at the moment, and also other challenges as they might come up in life. And I'll leave you with some suggestions about how nurturing some particular psychological strengths and resources that we all have available to us can help support our well-being during these challenging times. So all of our lives have changed a lot over the past year, some more than others, I know, and we still don't really know how things are going to unfold. So I think it's important at any time really, but especially at the moment, to learn how to adapt ourselves to the world that we're living in and the uncertainties that we might face in order to create more resilience and create a sense of joy in our lives and just generally to optimize our health and well-being. So to do this, we need to consciously develop both internal and external resources. And there's a concept in positive psychology literature, which I think encapsulates this really well. It's called psychological capital, which refers to the psychological strengths of hope, efficacy or self-efficacy, resilience and optimism, or hero as it's quite nicely known. So the extent to which we all have these traits and how they come naturally to us is different for us all. But the good news is that we can all consciously develop each of these capacities. And also the sum of these traits is greater than the parts. So even just small things that you can do to support each one can lead to big improvements in the overall sense of well-being that you experience. So it's about doing things and engaging in behaviours that help to cultivate a hopeful and optimistic outlook and to strengthen resilience and the confidence that we can handle challenges and changes when they happen. So building a hopeful and optimistic outlook, it doesn't mean putting your head in the sand or ignoring what's going on in the world or avoiding difficult feelings. It's about embracing the power that you have to choose how you respond to challenges as they arise. So all of the things you've heard in the sessions this evening have given you some ideas about how you can develop your heroes and the choices you can make to support your health. But we're talking about overcoming overwhelm and making changes to your lifestyle and incorporating new things into your life, especially during challenging times, can feel a bit overwhelming in itself. So I just wanted to leave you with 3 suggestions about how you can nurture your heroes without the overwhelm. So first, look at the things that are within your control. So there's a lot in our lives that we don't have much control over, especially some aspects of our environment and our general circumstances. And of course, we wouldn't want to control everything, or even try to. But there's a lot that we can control, especially when it comes to behaviours that support our health and well-being. So the sessions this evening might have given you some ideas about what you can choose to put into your body and practices that you might choose to do with a few minutes of downtime that can help to reduce the stress and overwhelm you're experiencing. And it's these kinds of choices that are within our control that can support our well-being. And this then leads me on to the second thing. So you don't have to do all of the things right away. So if you want to make changes or bring new behaviours or habits into your life, think about what's the most important thing to you right now. So what can you prioritise? What do you think would make the biggest difference in your life? So just decide on 1 or 2 things and then break these things down into small, manageable steps. So introducing new things slowly, step by step, means you're more likely to follow through on those behaviours and build sustainable habits. And also importantly, celebrate your successes as you go along, however small you think they are, and show yourself a lot of self-compassion along the way. And then finally, make time for the things that bring you joy. So this is so important for all of us, for our general well-being all of the time, but even more so during challenging times. So doing things that bring you pleasure or even just a snippet of joy helps to calm the nervous system and to reduce overwhelm. But when we're feeling stressed or in an overwhelmed state, the things that we find joy in tend not to come to mind. So we're in that fight or flight mode where we're in survival mode really, and we're not thinking about the things that are fun or that bring us joy. So I like to write a list. List down all of the things that bring you joy and bring you pleasure and the things that make you laugh. So these don't have to be big things either. It can just be, having a quiet cup of tea or just putting on your favourite song. But if you have the list handy, if you have all of these things, there to see, you can see them in times when you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed. And it can be a reminder to take a few minutes out and do something that can really quickly bring you out of that state of overwhelm and have a real impact on your well-being. So as you've seen this evening, there are so many things that can affect our mental and physical health. But rather than being overwhelmed by this, know that there's also so much we can do ourselves to support our health and well-being. But just take things one step at a time.
Thank you, Sarah. That was an excellent way to tie this all together and make it a bit manageable, because it can be overwhelming itself, everything that we know that we should be doing. So before we go to some questions, we just want to say a special thank you to Gavin Brockis, because this would not have happened without him. We may know a bit about what we work with, but we are not tech savvy. So Gavin has made all the videos and essentially enabled us to do this. So many thanks, Gavin. And now we're going to take some questions. So I will stop this. Hello all. So I'll pass over to Emma and Alex, I think.
Yeah. So amazing. Thank you so much for, well, I was staggered watching one of these presentations myself. I haven't seen anybody else's before. And we've got some questions that have come through to us personally, and some ones that have been posted on Q&A. So I'm going to start with Hannah, if that's okay, Hannah. If you want to unmute yourself. So the first question for you is, how often does somebody need to practice EFT? What do you recommend?
Oh, great question. Thank you. So EFT is a bit like exercise. The more you do, the better results that you get. And it really depends on what you're wanting to achieve and kind of how self-disciplined you are. Some people are really self-disciplined, and I have some clients that will like tap 3 times a day. They make it part of their daily routine. And then I have other clients who really struggle to kind of fit anything in their day at all. And you know, it's just about fitting in as and when you can. But really, the more you can do, the better it is, and your body starts learning to respond much faster. It's kind of like any skill. The more you practice it, the faster your body kind of acclimatizes and gets used to it. So it's one of those things. I just say do as much as you can that feels comfortable, and don't give yourself a hard time. If you're someone that's not self-disciplined and finds it very difficult to fit things in, then maybe set a timer. And not a timer, you know, reminder on your phone. There's a great app that you can download called the Tapping Solution, which has little 10-minute tap alongs. So you can find something that really matches what you're feeling and what you want to tap on. Lots of them are free, and then if you like them, you can subscribe. There's lots of videos on YouTube. So it's really what works best for you.
And one more question. Somebody was asking, how do you form the kind of sentence that you're saying as you tap? Do you have any kind of tips for that?
Yeah, that's a really helpful question. Thank you. I have a little kind of formula that I work with. So the first thing is to notice it. What is it that you're feeling? You know, if it's something that you want to shift, that you want to release, that you want to let go of, actually just take a moment to notice it, because so often with overwhelm, with anxiety, we're just in a bit of a state and we don't even connect with what it is that we're feeling. So just notice what's going on. Oh yeah, actually I'm feeling anxious, my shoulders are really tight, I'm not breathing properly. Just notice it, and then kind of give it a name like that. Once you've then named it, you then know what to tap on. So it's literally like I did in the demonstration, just tapping on this feeling, this sensation, this emotion, this upset, and where you feel it in your body. And that's the first thing. It's always really important to name the difficulty, the upset, or the challenge, because in doing that, it allows it to kind of be heard and seeing. It's a bit like a tantruming child. If a child is screaming and shouting, telling them to shush isn't going to work. They need to be heard. Once they've been heard, they can settle. So naming and noticing and naming what you're feeling, and just tapping on it is the first thing. And then you can then play around with, maybe it's okay to let it go. I choose to release this, and giving those messages to your subconscious afterwards. But I can, on my website, there's a handout on my EFT page, which gives you a little script to follow. So you can go to my website and just download that for free. And it's actually, I think it's going to come out in the handouts afterwards as well. So like I said, there's lots of things that you can follow online. You can write your own script, but just notice it, name it, and tap on it, and things start to shift. It's quite amazing. Thank you.
That's amazing, Hannah. Thank you very much. If anybody listening has questions for Hannah or for anybody else, I'm going to go through. We've got questions for everybody, so I'm going to go through them. But if you suddenly think of a question for any of the panelists, please post it in the Q&A, and we will come back to it. Jenny.
Can I forgot to say, we're going to keep going till 8:30 here. So that means another half an hour, depending on where you are in the world. Okay. So just so you have a bit of a time frame, we're not going to go all evening.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, good point. Good point. Helen, one quite specific question about your, that was an amazing presentation. From somebody, you talked about and I'm just having a look at my notes, you talked about the connection between the jaw and the was it the pelvis?
Yes.
Yes. What is your advice for somebody who gnashes their teeth? You know,
yes,
they've got kind of
yes, and there is a big connection between that kind of teeth grinding and keeping tension in your jaw and the amount of tension you hold actually in your pelvis.
Wow.
So I would suggest that somebody discusses that with their dentist actually, because they're usually the best ones to help with if anybody needs to have a night splint sometimes to stop that happening.
Right, okay.
To kind of just to see, but also it is usually an indication that there's a lot of stress in the system. So again, bringing in, a daily practice of kind of breathing, meditation or mindfulness to help reduce that amount of stress that's actually then getting played out in the system overnight very often.
Would it then be worthwhile them seeking advice for kind of pelvic support too?
Yes, particularly if there are, if there's any symptoms of pelvic floor tension, which can come out in terms of pain or just a loss of connection, which is probably the most common way that I see tension getting played out in the system, is just a woman doesn't really know what her pelvic floor is doing because she's just disconnected from it. So breathing, as I said, is one of the most helpful ways of just beginning to connect with that part of your body. Connection is restored with breath, touch, and sensational awareness. So really becoming aware of the sensations in both your jaw and your pelvis.
Okay. And that actually moves me on probably the question I should have started with, because it's more basic. But what are the signs of kind of pelvic health issues for somebody, if they're not really sure what that means? Does that make sense?
Well,
for somebody that's not sure what kind of pelvic health issues means, what would that mean?
Or not supporting properly. Pelvic organ prolapse, again, it's just where the pelvic floor muscles are not supporting the organs well enough in the pelvis, so it's one of the signs. And pain is another classic presentation, that the pelvic floor very often might be held in tension and creating an altered line of pull somewhere in the tissues in the pelvis and creating pain. Pain during sexual intercourse, again, there's a lot that can be done to help restore the suppleness and the kind of life in these muscles to make sure that they are working properly and it's a very core part. Really important to restore the health and connectivity to those tissues.
No, that's great, Helen. Thank you very much. I think that for people that I see, because I work with lots of younger women who are waiting for kind of endometriosis diagnosis, it's really, really good to hear that, because lots of times they'll be told by their GP that it's normal to have that level of pain, menstrual pain. So it's really good to hear that.
I think if you think about, you know, the physiological response to pain is generally a contraction in the body and a hold designed to move and flow. We're rhythmical creatures, we're cyclical creatures. So where there's pain, there's a tendency to move away from the pain. And what I teach a lot is actually moving towards the pain and finding ways in which to reconnect and kind of relieve the symptoms rather than cutting off, disconnecting and moving away. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you, Helen. Alex, I've got some questions for you as well from the audience.
Okay.
First question, and I'll start with the basic one first, is, so you talked about fibre, which is amazing. How much should somebody be aiming to eat a day?
It's around 35 grams a day for an adult, but on a typical Western diet, people can often struggle to get half of that figure. So getting fibre-rich foods in at every meal and snack time is really important. Yeah.
And another kind of a bit more specific question, but kind of a really useful one linked to that, is how does somebody manage their fibre intake, especially their pulses, if they're getting a lot of bloating and kind of IBS kind of gut issues themselves, and often they're advised by their by their health practitioner to go on to a protocol where they reduce all of their fibre.
Yeah, that can happen. So the best thing to do is to make sure that any kind of bean, lentil, legume, whether you're having it from sort of fresh, so in a can, or from dried, is to make sure that they're soaked really, really, really well before cooking with them or eating them, just to make sure that we are removing anything that might be of an irritant. It can also then diminish in cooking, so making sure you're cooking your lentils and beans for quite a while and simmering in that, perhaps in some nice juicy sauces, or when you're adding them into stews and things, you can simmer them for a while, and that also reduces some of the substances that may cause an issue, and also helps to start the break down the enzymatic changes so that the body can find it easier to break down. And I also say, don't overload yourself with too many at one time or too many within a dish. Just if you're finding that they're slightly difficult, have a smaller portion, like, you know, a nice 2 tablespoons perhaps within a dish, and see how you get on. And you might find that something like chickpeas are more easier to manage than a kidney bean for you. Everyone's different, so one size doesn't fit all. So just go slowly and introduce mindfully, and just listen to your body and what is working. That's what I would say, certainly.
Oh, that's amazing, Alex. That's really good advice.
Is there anything you would add, Emma, seeing as you're a nutritionist as well?
What would I do?
Is there anything you would add to that question?
How would I answer the question? Well, exactly the same as you. And I think that there are things that have, for people to think of things that have got skins on them, like kind of berries and nuts with skins on, and seeds, especially if you kind of grind them. There are other ways of getting different types of fibre as well. But really echo exactly what Alex said. Everybody's different. So it's about finding what's right for you, and it's about finding what's right for you at that time. And you'll kind of go on a bit of a journey with adding in fibrous foods. But if you are listening and you are somebody who has been advised to go on a long-term low fibre diet, then it would be really useful for you to revisit that suggestion, because fibre offers so much support for us. And Jenny, thank you for that. I mean, the image and the creation of the wheel as a way of looking at health and well-being is incredible. You need to patent that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Very much so. So a couple of questions from people. So you talked about the need to take breaks from kind of sitting down and working on a computer, as everybody is so much now, so many people are working from home. What do you suggest? Do you have a kind of a time when people should move after they've sat down for a certain level of time? And is that the same length of time for each break, or could you offer any advice on, so say if somebody's sitting at a desk all day, what would you recommend them in terms of taking breaks?
Well, ideally every 15 minutes.
Wow.
That's not going to happen. But if the baseline is that sitting is not good for us, that's just the way it is. We can't get around that. Our bodies are not meant to sit on chairs. So we live in a world where we do sit a lot. So then we have to find ways to manage that. And one thing is that keep moving. So even when you're sitting, don't keep one position. Because I think we're taught this idea that we need to sit in a certain way. But if you sit still, it doesn't matter what your posture is. If you keep the same posture for an hour, that's not going to be good. If you're slouching for a little while, that's not a problem as long as you don't do it for an hour. So it's the variation and movement that's crucial. And then these classic tips of, put your printer further away so you have to move, or reminders. I don't think there's anything that is really that good. Maybe an uncomfortable chair is the best thing you can do. Because if you're not too comfortable, you are going to keep moving. And the other thing is to think about having a standing desk, or even putting, in one of the places I lived in before, I just put boxes on my table and had a standing. Having said that, if you stand still in the same position, that's not good either. So it is that restless, just keep moving. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but if you keep remembering that you want to move the different joints in your body regularly.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I think every 15 minutes, maybe we could set it so we literally just stood up and sat down again.
It's habit. It is this thing of breaking. And sometimes, you're really into something and all of a sudden an hour has gone. It's not a problem. It's the things that we do every single day. That's when it becomes a problem. But every now and then it's your overall habits. But that's where getting into the habit of just moving, take out full range of movement in all the joints in your body regularly during the day. It's actually not more complicated than that.
Can you just expand on what you mean by
So your full range of movement. So your shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
we tend to end up here. We slouch, we have our neck forward. How often do you put your arms back?
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, pull, stretch arms up. My ceiling is too low. Arms behind you. Really get your arms back because we're never there. If you have a door frame, hanging is fantastic. You know, just latch onto a door frame and let your knees, bend your knees, stand on one leg, do some toe ups. You know, there's actually, if you think about it, there's so much you can do that really is very simple and it doesn't cost anything.
Wow, can I just say I just tried that out after being in meetings all day, and it really works. Thank you.
It is, it's a very, and your arms actually, your arms have a huge impact on your circulation. So working your arms around is great.
Amazing. That's great. Thank you so much. Sarah, some questions for you. That was an awesome presentation. I felt inspired and motivated listening to you. So one question, what would your advice be to somebody who is kind of panicking and they've got all these different things that they need to do and they're kind of panicking so much, they're all swimming in their head, they don't know where to start? What would you advise them?
Yeah, that's a good question, Emma. I think, first of all, probably write down all the stuff that's swimming in your head, just so it's out there on paper. You can see it in writing rather than just thinking about it. And then if it's the things, you know, thinking about what you should be doing or the things that you want to implement, really just find the one that resonates the most. So if there's something, you know, this evening that stood out, or something that you've been wanting to do for a while that really interests you or you feel would be really beneficial. And I think just starting with the thing either that interests you or you think would have the biggest impact on your life, and really just start with the one thing and work out a way to implement that. And again, as we've said, it's different for everyone how it's going to fit into your life. But really just start simple and start with one thing.
Okay. Oh, that's brilliant. That's amazing. And you talked about celebrating successes.
Yes.
And how do you, so somebody asked, they find it really difficult to do that, but they just kind of move on to the next thing straight away. So would you have any advice for that?
I think we all do that to some extent, don't we? We work so hard to get something or achieve something, and then rather than acknowledge it, just move on to the next thing that we want. I think acknowledging it is the biggest thing, and perhaps maybe get into the habit of maybe every day think about something that you appreciate about yourself, or something that you've done, or something that you feel proud of that day. And I think, like with all of these things, getting into a habit of noticing these things and actually acknowledging them, it just helps you to start noticing it, because as you say, it's so easy just to let things pass by and move on to the next thing. So yeah, actively and intentionally taking time to think about something that you're proud of, or that you feel like you've achieved, and acknowledging it and choosing a way to celebrate it in a way that means something to you.
That's amazing, Sarah. That's such good advice. Thank you. Actively is a great word. Thank you. So I think there's one question for me, which I think Alex is going to ask.
Yeah, I'm going to just ask. There's been a few things in the Q&A. So there's one around alcohol. So honest opinion on the effects of alcohol on our bodies and mental health, as sometimes we are finding out more that it's potentially more detrimental and not doing us any good. So Emma,
what's my opinion about alcohol? Yeah. So my general view on alcohol in practice and in my life generally is that I don't suggest everybody stops drinking alcohol. So for some people will need not to drink, and some people won't drink, and it's very easy for them. And for other people will drink. But for all of us who do drink, and I'm not a teetotaler myself, for all women who do drink, we need to know that by drinking, more than 1 or 2 units a couple of times a week, we are potentially causing an imbalance of our hormones and potentially raising the risk of hormonal cancer. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't all do it, but alcohol, there's lots of kind of views that drinking red wine is good for you, only in small amounts, and it's so difficult for it just to build up. And in terms of gut health, there is evidence, unfortunately, that alcohol leads to gut lining being compromised, and small amounts of alcohol can do that, and that can lead up over a longer period of time. So yeah.
And as the lady that asked about mental health, so from my little video, I was talking about how our neurotransmitters that support our mood regulation, so as you said, if our gut is becoming compromised and irritated, and the bacteria finding themselves in a not so hospitable environment, then we're going to be having fewer of those neurotransmitters that we really need for happiness, mood regulation, concentration, and even things like sleep. So there's a real correlation to what we eat, drink, and our mood and mental health. And for anxiety, it can cause dehydration. Alcohol can induce palpitations and things like that can then bring on these other emotions and the feelings of anxiety and this reaction in our body. So we do have to be very mindful of how much we are consuming, certainly.
I've just noticed one more question. I'm going to ask that very quickly because I'm conscious of time. We've just got 5 minutes left, and I want to hand over to Jenny to round up. A question about fibre and supplementation, and I'm just going to answer that really quickly, to say that we can't in a process like this recommend supplements. We do need to be food based. However, if you grind some flax seeds or and have them kind of a couple of spoons of flax seeds a day, or psyllium husk, then they will act as fibre. Also, if it's around supporting bowel movements, kiwi fruit are very, very good as some recommendations. And I'm going to hand back to Jenny for the last few minutes to close the event.
Thank you. Thank you both, Emma and Alex, and all of you who've posted questions. If there's something that we haven't answered or haven't had time to answer, then you will get our contact details, so you can always reach out afterwards. And I want to say a particular thank you to all you guys for sharing your considerable expertise and time in setting this up. It's been absolutely wonderful to do it with you. And we hope that this has been useful. We do realize it's been a lot of information in not so much time, but we didn't want to give you even more screen time than you've already had. So, and I know some people struggled to get in and got in late. So we're going to send this out shortly. And then we don't have the recording ready yet. The little videos you'll get so you can see the ones that you need. and then we will get you the full recording later. So if there's any issues, then please just get in touch with us. But thank you very much.
Can I just add, if anyone does have any questions, feel free to get in touch with us personally. All of our contact details will be in the handout that you receive. So some of us offer a discovery call, or you can give us a call, drop us an email, and you know, if you have more questions, then we're all really happy to help you find some solutions.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Happy International Women's Day.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for being here.